Great. Yeah, go back out with Deb. Go on.
Okay, we should be set.
Okay, thank you so much, Summer, for wrangling us all together on this internet on this December 18th, 2020 for our special city council meeting. It is 12:02 p.m. and per the Utah Open and Public Meetings Act and our governor, we will be meeting today electronically. First order of business, Summer, will you please go through a roll call of everyone who is on this Zoom meeting, please?
Yep, we have Mayor Emily Niehaus, Tawny Knutson Boyd, Moab City Council, Kaylin Jones, Moab City Council, Carly Castle, Assistant City Manager, Joel Linares, City Manager, Clint York, Finance Director, Lori Simonson, City Attorney, and Ronnie Dressery, Moab City Council.
Thank you so much, Summer, City Reporter. We are now in section 2 of our meeting, public hearing. This is a public hearing on the proposed resolution 46-2020, a resolution amending the fiscal year 2020-2021 budget. We are receiving public comments by phone and online today with Zoom. And we did publish how for the instructions on how folks can attend on our agenda. We also are open to the written comments as citizens to be heard. And we did receive one comment from a community member. Summer, is that correct? Are there any other comments?
That's correct. We received one from Teresa King.
Thank you so much. I will now open this public hearing. Summer, do we have anybody in the waiting room?
I don't have anybody in the waiting room right now.
Okay, thank you so much. And welcome, Karen. Good to see you. What I am going to do is keep this public hearing open for the duration of our meeting. And just before I call for the motion to adjourn, I will close the public hearing. In the event that somebody is just having trouble zooming in, Summer, please do let me know if we do have anybody that zooms in that may wish to be heard. And other than that, unless I'm forgetting anything, we'll move on to item 3, the proposed resolution 46-2020, a resolution amending the fiscal year 2020/2021 budget. Clinton and Joel, take it away.
All right, so with amending the budget, I'm just going to go through some quick bullet points on what we're going to amend it for. As been discussed, the city of Moab is proud to provide all Grant County households with the opportunity to buy local bucks. This is to be used like cash at participating businesses located within the Moab city limits. Beginning next week, December 21st, December 22nd or so, each household, or later on that week, will receive in the mail a postcard with 3 $15 buy local buck coupons. So essentially, this is $45 of free money to spend at local participating businesses located within the Moab city limits. These funds are made possible due to the CARES funding, which has freed up general fund monies to be spent on this program in order to create basically a local stimulus in the off season. So each of these coupons will have a special foil on it, so they'll be hard to duplicate. And with that, these bucks can be spent like cash. And so far, there have been 70 plus businesses that have enrolled in the community. And as the program moves forward, businesses can keep enrolling they don't have to pre-enroll, even as things roll forward. If they want to get involved, they can get a hold of the city and we can get them signed up. These buy local bucks can be used through March 1st or until all the funds are used up. And so quickly how this works, basically the residents will receive a postcard in the mail with the coupons. They can come downtown or within the city limits with to participating businesses, use them, and the businesses will in turn get reimbursed for the coupons by the city of Moab. So End of my spill.
One final thing, do we want to talk about the once it's spent, and how we're communicating the tracking of that?
So that will all be, yeah, once it's spent, and we'll have a tracking system on the city page, where if you go to the city page, you can, on the top, there is a Buy Local Bucks program, and that tracks where the spending's at, so that you can make sure you get all of your bucks spent in time, and that's kind of where it's at.
And so if somebody goes to spend it and it's all been spent up, the businesses that have signed up will know that they can no longer receive, and they'll communicate that to the person holding the bucks.
Yep.
So we'll just be real good about telling the people, get out there and spend your cash, your Moab bucks now.
Yeah, we've got a group together that will communicate as well as we can with businesses and residents. Tawny?
Where will a list of the businesses that are participating be found so that it's easy for people to know?
It's right on our website. If you click on it, on the bottom section of that, there's a list of all the businesses that have signed up so far.
Okay, and no business is this tracking system to track when it's spent. No business is going to be left holding the bag, so to speak, if the money's gone.
No.
Okay.
No, we'll make sure that happens. Any other questions? Ronnie?
Oh, well, I didn't know if you had more to say, so I can save
No.
my questions till the end, or.
No, go ahead.
Oh, okay. So, I mean, I guess in theory, nobody should end up though in a situation where someone was turning something in and there was no money, right? Because it's all connected to these coupons. So I'm almost wondering if we'll have more of the other scenario where there's still money in March, because, you know, some people never open their mail. So there might be some people who just toss them. Or I have had one or two people say to me, I don't feel like I really need these. And I understand some people would think that sounds crazy because it's free money, but I mean, there are people in our community who feel like they don't need them. So they were wondering what their options were to do with them. And it sounds like, correct me if I'm wrong, but, you know, you could either give them to someone, or you could, you know, take them to a nonprofit or something to give to someone who could use them more, or you could bring them back to the city. But I'm guessing some of them might end up getting recycled or tossed. So if we got to March 1st and there was still money, because ostensibly people still have coupons sitting around, or maybe they got recycled, what's our plan, or do we have one yet for what to do with that money? Because it's not like probably those coupons will ever surface again.
Joel, what are your thoughts on that? I know we discussed it, but I don't remember quite where we ended up on that.
So if there was remaining funds at the end of the program, we would put that back into the general fund. We've talked about potentially doing this again if COVID persists, or as a program going into the winter to incentivize local businesses to stay open into the shoulder season a little more. But that would be determined by you guys at a later point. But any money, if we only spend 75% of the money, the remaining money would go back into the general fund.
And is this the right time to address the question that Teresa King sent us, which is, I know a few people probably had?
Do you want to state the question so it's up?
I'm sure. Hold on, I'm just grabbing it. And that was, let's see. As for the public hearing today, I understand the subject is opening the budget to do some accounting gymnastics to be able to use the CARES funding without as many restrictions. In the spirit of transparency, it would be helpful in attempting to give intelligent input about the budget if the budget for this fiscal year was available online on the city's website to review. My comment is, could these funds be used for infrastructure needs of the city? Would it be possible to use the $200,000 as matching funds and acquire a grant for immediate infrastructure needs, thus potentially having $400,000 to spend? I believe this would be a better use of the monies and would serve everyone in the city for years to come. I just wanted to put that forward.
I think Teresa presents a great idea, and that's an excellent point that she's making. A part of us receiving this large of a grant from the CARES funding was that we had indicated to those who were giving out the grants that we would use it in this manner to promote local business and the economy. So a part of it, even though we probably could find better ways to spend it from a city standpoint, we're not legally obligated, but definitely obligated by the way we held out what we could do for the money and the way the community could use the money. And so we have an obligation to make sure that some of these programs go forward on some level.
So, Joel, I wonder if it would be worth, because the ULCT has a very great 8-page or 12-page informational packet about the CARES Act funding, and it is very specific that, I mean, we aren't as a city able to use it for infrastructure projects. And so like, since this is sort of a pass through, funding opportunity for the community, I mean, there was very specific guidelines, and maybe just putting that list up might be worth it. Just so people, I mean, really understand what it can and cannot be used for.
Yeah, the CARES funding came with limitations that it couldn't be used for items that were budgeted prior to COVID in your past budget or pre-existing issues that you had for COVID. And so in the spirit of the grant of the money, we're trying to do these programs and things like this to keep in line with what the rules are.
Right.
And we could make a link to the League of Cities about that informational packet. And it's very helpful. And if people wanted to read that, it would really help explain what we're doing as far as with the police department and how we're using the funds.
Especially since the CARES Act funding is coming from the feds, and the Treasury Department has a lot to say about what can and cannot be done. And I mean, it's not as if we can hire new employees with CARES Act funding, or unless it was specifically to deal with COVID issue funding. I mean, it's and to help people, get out of not being kicked out of their homes. And so
yeah, that's correct. It couldn't be used towards funding for hiring a new person unless that person was being hired to combat the effects of COVID.
Joel and Clint, Teresa did ask about the budget being posted on the website. I feel like at times we've had that on. Is the current one on the website, or is that something we can get up if it's not up there?
The current one's not on there. I'll work with Lisa and get it up today.
Thanks.
Well, I wanted to just share that I have received a lot of positive feedback about this program from both individuals and businesses. So I was picking up lunch for my lunch with the students of the month at the middle school at McDonald's. And I was thinking about that question that you posed, Ronnie. I was thinking about, what would somebody do if they didn't want or need their Moab bucks? And no part of it says that it's not transferable. And so, I was just thinking about our food service folks in town, staff of restaurants that have been putting themselves on, the front line, especially through this busy fall. Our healthcare professionals, our, hotel front desk folks. I think that if anybody's looking for or feeling like, hey, this $45 is great, but I'd rather look at, taking this and turning it into a gift. There's nothing that keeps somebody from doing that. And so if if you order a pizza, that could be a really nice tip. I guess I would just be sure to tell people, spend it quickly. It's not cash forever.
Part of the question I got was, does the city have a preference if they don't want them on, like a central receptacle where we want to take them back? Or, it doesn't sound like we do. Like, you can bring them to the city, but you can certainly just pass them to someone else.
Yeah, I think the point of the certificate to individuals is like, hey, the city's got a lot of ideas. We have a lot of ideas on how we can spend our money. But this really empowers each individual to say, where do you want to put just a little bit of of resource in our community. So it's, I would say, for our community members, when they receive the Moab bucks, feel empowered. Buy a Christmas ham, or buy buy the go shopping for your family, or spend it, put your money where you'd like to.
So Ronnie, to give it a little bit of context, I think for the coupons themselves, each residency will receive $45 worth of coupons. We sent out about 5,000 residency worth. So there's about $225,000 in coupons. All the research and everything we could find said about 8 to 10% of coupons are cashed in on a normal basis. The other cities that we talked to who were doing these types of programs, they didn't get anywhere near 50% of the coupons being cashed in. So if people want to share them, if they want to give them to someone else, we don't have any preference at all. I'd almost prefer that they give them to someone else rather than bring them back to the city, to be honest with you.
Okay, no, thanks. That's really helpful. And those numbers are helpful because, yeah, that's lower than I would think it would be for free money.
And then, Joel, I'm curious, is there an end date on the coupon itself?
There's not an end date on the coupon at all. So we didn't want to put an end date because if people are not using them and the money's just sitting there because a lot of places are closed because it's winter, we wanted it to be able to keep going and let the stores reopen for maybe President's Day, people could keep using them. And so we didn't want to put an end date on it. If it's a really hot commodity and people start using them in droves and within the first 3 weeks we're at $95,000, then we'll just go on and put out noticing that we're out of money and the program's been brought to an end. And thank you everyone for making it a huge success. So we didn't want to put an end date on it. We wanted to make it so if people weren't using them, or if they were waiting to use them for a specific store to open, that they had that ability as long as the funds were there.
So can I request that, maybe through the next couple months, like at like the end of the week, because I know you guys are like balancing that budget like weekly, correct? So maybe at the end of the week, like, oh, we're at, at 15%, or we're at, just to kind of let people know and let the businesses know. Cause if there's that, odd gap, because if it's a week that you're not tallying those numbers up and we're looking at the last week and all of a sudden everybody's going because they think it's done March 1st, then it'd probably be helpful that there's not, I can see maybe there's a potential time lapse that there would be like where businesses took the coupons and there isn't the money.
So,
but with your numbers, it seems like it might not happen. But if theoretically, if we were to use all the funds. Yeah.
So the plan, Karen, that's an excellent point. The plan we have is that we are going to put that information up on the webpage and people will be able to see it updated, and it'll have an update date as to when it was last updated and keep that currently going. It'll also allow us to track how much we're taking in every week and where it's all being spent. So we should get a good understanding over time, like this is the average spent per week as we're going. So if we're averaging $10,000 being claimed a week and we hit $89,000 the week before, we'll probably give notice that the program's done. So as those last ones all start trickling in, that time
Gotcha. Okay.
We have two parts of this budget that we're looking at. So the first is the coupons. I just wanted to see if there was any discussion on the other item, the contributions. And because the press always lets me know, hey, we're watching, it's also a good opportunity for us to just kind of pitch that program as well. And Joel, I don't know if you want to take the opportunity to do that as well right now. Is that okay? Okay.
Absolutely. So the other program we're going to do is we're going to do like similar to what we've done in the past is community contributions, opening it up to non-for-profits and for special service districts and governmental entities. And we're going to use basically the same application that we've had in the past. We will have a staff group put together to go through those, allocate the monies as we think that's appropriate. Bring that back to council to have you look at it before we kind of send it out and go from there. But it'll essentially operate very similarly to the old community contributions. And as far as community contributions go, with the way our revenues have been working and the way that the city has tightened its belt and saved money over this last year to get through this crisis, you know, as we move into the budget process here in the next couple of weeks, and we've already started it here at City Hall, but as we really get going through budget, we're looking to try and bring community contributions back next year as a part of our normal budgeting process like we had in the past. We had cut it because of the shortfall we had going into 2021. And so we're going to do this program very similar to that: application, review, proposal, council approval, and then go out with the funds that way. And then as we go into next year, we're also going to look to bring community contributions back if our budget allows us to.
And Joel, can you also speak to the, usually this time of year, we're also looking at doing a contribution fund for the fees for events. And I know events are spring events in particular are so complicated right now, because I think we're all anticipating a successful exit of this pandemic and going back to a new normal. But we are at this gray area right now where where events would otherwise be applying and potentially be looking at offsetting those fees. So I just wanted to know, in this community contributions, is the assumption that that is also part of it, or is that going to be kept separate?
No, I think that they could apply in this first round right now, because they'd be, most of those groups are 501c3s, and I think they would qualify, and we could take their application and review it. But community contributions going forward also always, like you're saying, had that fee waiver aspect of it, where we did that side of community contributions, and we're looking to do that as well, because that it wasn't a big, the irony in this is we cut it because of our budget shortfall, and we expected for it to cause a lot of problems for people because they used those funds in order to put on their events. Well, then COVID hit, and it was like everyone we cut no longer was holding their events. So it didn't actually really impact anyone when we cut it. So our intent is to bring that back as well, Mayor.
And so for this coming spring, if the car show or Jeep Safari wanted to look at offsetting their fees, then they could just apply for this community contributions.
Yes,
that can be included.
Yes, ma'am. I would encourage them to do that.
Okay, but the criteria again, can you just outline the criteria again?
So I'd have to pull up the application that we had before to go through all of the criteria, but essentially, 501c3 nonprofit, and also governmental special service district governmental entities who can show a need. And I know that some of them were very well taken care of by the county when they went through their CARES funding, and I know a couple others were left with some issues still remaining, and so we want to help them as well.
And will we be looking at and comparing the contributions that our applicants received from other sources in our decision making?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Tawny?
I think you answered this. Joel, I'm just not sure that the way I'm asking it was answered. Is there going to be some sort of a safeguard put on this little pot of money that we're talking about right here, as far as community contribution goes, so that people aren't applying for money from this pot and then they apply for community contributions out of our normal budget for the same thing? Does that make sense?
Yeah, so in our community contributions application that we've used in the past, it asks on that form what grants you received from the city in the past, and kind of asks you to explain those out a little bit. So if someone gets something this January and they re-request something in July, that will be on that form, and we would factor that into whether or not they would or would not receive grant funding going forward.
Okay.
I don't want to say that it would disqualify them from potentially receiving grant funding, because it may be they need money because of COVID, and we give them money in January to do that. And then in July, they have this thing that they always do that we've historically given them money for, and we give them money maybe to do that as well. But
so
we definitely will be factoring that.
It's based on their need and where their event is falling. I don't want to be stingy with the money. I just want to make sure that it's managed and monitored well. And it sounds like that, given our processes, it is.
Yeah, I foresee in this January batch of things that there are going to be some groups that request fee waiver type support. Like, we've had this hard time and we're trying to put this event on in April and we need some fee waiver. And I think we'll get something from another group that says, hey, we need PPE for our people and this is what we're doing. And it's still like 100% COVID. So I think we're going to get a mix of kind of both.
Okay. All right.
Other questions, Ronnie?
Oh, just clarifying, and sorry if you said some of this and I wasn't listening right, but so for this $100,000, do we have a set deadline or kind of a deadline in mind that people who want to apply need to be aware of?
Yes, I don't have that deadline hard yet, but what we'll do is once we get the application finalized for this round for the grants, the application will be due at a certain time in order for us to be able to then start processing them and go through them. And that'll be the deadline for application. It'll probably be around the 21st of January, the 20th week of January, right in there somewhere.
Okay, that's helpful. Thanks. And then because we haven't dealt with special service districts in this before, and I know several of us sit on district boards and we know how big the budgets are and how big the needs are, is the idea, will there be a little bit extra text to help the districts figure out what they can and can't apply for? Because I know a lot of them could just take $100,000, for a good project and run with it. Is the idea both for them and for the nonprofits right now that this is supposed to be COVID related or not necessarily?
I don't know that it has to be COVID related in the way that we're doing it, because obviously those people who are going to request for events are not going to necessarily be COVID related. So I don't know that that's a criteria that it has to be COVID related. We would want them to explain in their grant application what they needed it for and why they had a shortfall in their funding or why they couldn't afford it historically. Just a normal grant process as to why you need support and help in what you're trying to do.
And I can't remember, in the past, did we have a maximum amount they could ask for? And are we just anticipating that'll stay the same?
We did not have a maximum amount. It was self-regulating to a degree. Mm-hmm. People didn't tend to ask outside of a certain range. Every now and then we would get one that would be a large number, and it was like, that's the entire fund. But most of the time they were smaller amounts. And so we'll just take that as it comes and weigh in what we get and what's requested. And if we think that after getting those applications, there's an absolute need and that we're not meeting that need, we might come back to council at that time and say, this is the applications we received and this is the needs that have been outlined. And do we want to reconsider how we're doing the amount of funding? So.
And the last thing was, is there a point person you would like people to be aware of, or would you like them to be going to a specific place on the city website to kind of look for updates of when the application is going to list and when information is listed on how and when they can apply?
So over the next couple, not this next week, we're going to be getting that webpage for that application and get it all online. Myself, Carly, Lisa Church with the city, those are always good contact points for something like this.
Okay.
Clint as well would be good.
Karen.
Did you say Karen?
Uh-huh.
Okay. So Joel, just quickly. So February 1st, our applications for special events, have to be in to try to get any financial aid. Our community contributions, I believe it was like October 15th. All those had to be in. Did we receive any this year?
We didn't do any last year because of the budget shortfall. We had cut them. So we weren't even doing last year.
So for this budget, I guess, basically this is two pools. As to Tani's point. So we still have are we going to put back in a community? I guess it's our decision, but is that even up for a possibility to put the community contributions fund together? And then this is a separate pool. Is that how that
So,
is
yeah,
looking.
real quickly, this January poll is kind of being seen as a grant CARES funding, not as community
Okay.
contribution or a fee waiver. Going forward into the next budget cycle, we do want to bring back the fee waiver and community contributions going forward. So this poll, we want anyone kind of who is in need of either to jump in and be a part of it. And as we go into our new budget cycle, now that we're in the black and doing really well, we're going to bring that back and go into the normal.
Gotcha.
All right, any other questions or discussion about these, about the budget amendment? Well, I just want to say thanks to staff for putting this together. And it was a big lift to put together the Moab Bucks in particular, because there's just a lot of little details and we wanted to make sure we got it right. And I'm really grateful to our team to get through it so quickly and efficiently, so that the funds are available for us here in December. That really means a lot to me, and I just wanted to say thank you to staff for doing that. And I would entertain a motion.
Where is it?
I would do it, but I don't have the wording in front of me.
I'm looking for it.
So if you want to just wing it, it would be approving proposed resolution 46-2020, amending the fiscal year 2020 and 2021 budget.
I move to approve amendment 47 or amendment 47-2020.
Resolution.
Resolution. See?
46.
Okay, I move to approve resolution 46-2020, amending the budget. 2020 budget. 2021 budget.
I will take that motion. Thank you, Connie.
I'll second.
Thank you, Ronnie.
Take it in the spirit it was meant, not.
I think we're all very clear on your intention here with that motion. And any final discussion or question? Karen?
I just would like to make it really clear to the community, and I wasn't even sure this till I talked to Joel this week, but that we, that staff, Joel especially, was able to get the city back into the black without this CARES Act funding helping that. I mean, that the CARES Act funding is on top of us actually getting our house in order. And so that again is great. And I just thank you. I mean, because it puts us in a really strong position.
Thank you. Thanks, staff. No.
Yeah, big ditto. It feels really good where we are fiscally right now. And I know that not all communities are feeling this security. And I know that there are families within our community that are not feeling this security. So I'm hopeful that we can continue to listen and reach out and make sure that people are getting their needs met as we move through this winter. So this little bit helps. Ronnie?
It just occurs to me, I mean, several of us sit on special service district boards. Was the city just gonna, was one of the staff people gonna contact all the districts just to make them aware of this program? Or should one of us undertake that? I was trying to think if there's, for some reason, some district one of us doesn't sit on that, might not know about it and find out about it after the fact.
No, I've already gone through the state's information for all the special service districts in the valley, and we've already generated that list of a contact and phone number and mail for all.
Okay, great.
Contacted.
Thanks for doing that.
Okay, any other comments? Right, seeing none, I will call for the vote. Kaylin?
Aye.
Karen?
Aye.
Tawny?
Aye.
Ronnie?
Aye.
Motion passes 4-0. Thank you all so much. And happy holidays. I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
moved.
Thanks. I will take it from Kaylin. And is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Tawny. I think I heard all three of you at the same time. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes 4-0. We are adjourned. Happy holidays! Merry Christmas! Happy solstice! Merry New Year! Happy New Year! And hope you had a happy Hanukkah if you're into that sort of thing. Last night was the last night.